All right, let's dive into the fundamental building blocks of really good writing, clauses. Mastering these is the secret to taking your sentences from just, well, okay, to something that's truly powerful and crystal clear.
I mean, you know that feeling, right? You write something down, you read it back, and, something's just not quite right. It feels incomplete, kind of like a thought that just trails off. Well, that's a sentence fragment, and today we are going to fix that problem for good.
And the solution? It's not some super complex grammar trick, I promise. It really just comes down to understanding the two main parts of any sentence, the independent clause and the dependent clause. The easiest way to think about them, they're like the hero and the sidekick of your writing.
So first up, let's meet the hero of our story, the independent clause. This guy is the solid foundation of any good sentence. It's the part that can stand completely, 100% on its own.
Okay, so what does that actually mean in plain English? It just means our hero, the independent clause, has everything it needs to be a complete sentence all by itself. It's got a subject, it's got a verb, and it expresses a complete thought. You read it and you're not left hanging, waiting for the rest.
And this breakdown really shows you why it's so self-sufficient. See? It's got a subject, that's the who or the what. It's got a verb, that's the action. And the most important part, it tells a complete thought. You can literally just stick a period at the end and boom, you have a perfect, simple sentence.
All right, so every hero needs a sidekick, right? Of course. And that's exactly where our next player comes in, the dependent clause. Now, this one is super essential for adding all that juicy detail and depth, but here's the catch. It just can't go it alone.
And right there, that's the key difference. A dependent clause also has a subject and a verb, just like our hero. But, and you gotta remember this part, it does not express a complete thought. It totally leaves you hanging, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
So you see, it has the essential parts, the subject, the verb, but it's missing that final piece, that feeling of completion. It absolutely cannot stand alone. If it tries to, poof, it just becomes one of those fragments we talked about. It always needs its hero buddy. Okay, so we've met our two main characters. Now, let's put them side by side in a little lineup and see exactly what sets them apart. I think this is where it's all going to click for you.
This comparison just makes it crystal clear, doesn't it? Look, they both have a subject and a verb. Yes and yes. But the big split happens right here. Tells a complete thought. The independent clause gets a big yes, but the dependent clause gets a no. And that last row, that's basically your cheat sheet. An independent clause just feels complete. A dependent clause, on the other hand, almost always kicks off with what we call a signal word.
So, how do you spot a dependent clause out in the wild? Well, there's one dead giveaway. It's like a little flag it waves to let you know it needs help. And we call this the signal word. Yeah, these little words are the entire reason a dependent clause feels so incomplete. I mean, think about it. If I start a sentence with because, or when, or since, or if, you're instantly waiting for the rest of the story, right? It's the same with words like who, which, or that. They're all signals that this clause is just an introduction, or maybe an add-on to the main idea.
Okay, so knowing the difference is one thing. That's great. But the real magic, the fun part, happens when you see how they build awesome sentences together. This is how you start creating more complex, more interesting ideas in your writing.
And honestly, the process is super simple. Just think of it like the buddy system. Step 1, you start with your hero, that strong, independent clause that can stand on its own 2 feet. Then step 2, you bring in the sidekick, the dependent clause, to add all that great context or a reason or some extra detail.
All right, enough talk. Let's put this into practice and see exactly how this buddy system works. We're going to rescue some of those lonely fragments and turn them into powerful, complete sentences.
Okay, look at this phrase, because the signal word was present. See? By itself, that's a classic fragment. That signal word, because, just leaves you hanging. But when we give it its hero buddy, the thought was incomplete. Now listen to the whole thing. The thought was incomplete because the signal word was present. Perfect sense. Let's do one more. While the clause has a verb. Again, it's got the parts, right? But that signal word while instantly makes it dependent. It needs help. So we just attach it to its independent buddy. It cannot stand alone. And now you get, while the clause has a verb, it cannot stand alone. See? We just built a complete, pretty sophisticated thought. That's the buddy system in action.
So look, if you take just one thing away from all this, please let it be this. Remember the buddy system. It's that simple. Independent clauses, they're the strong, solitary heroes that can go it alone. Dependent clauses, they're the awesome sidekicks that always need that hero to make the story complete.
You literally now have the blueprint to see the hidden structure inside your own sentences. And the power here, it's not just about avoiding mistakes. No, it's about building your ideas with real intention and clarity. So, the only question left is, what powerful sentences are you going to build?